So, Wheel of Time's sixth episode is here, and I kind of have mixed feelings for this episode. There were certain things which I really enjoyed while watching the show, but there were some things which felt so flat that it seemed so artificial and almost awkward just watching those bits. I'll start with the good stuff. The bad stuff I'll talk about just in a while. The episode starts with a backstory of one of the main characters who is introduced in this very episode. And although it doesn't actually directly talk about the binary gender split that the whole series keeps talking about quite strongly, but it did come to my mind that while I was watching that one sequence in the beginning, that how this binary gender split not only affects the power play and, well, we might just think of the romantic relationships between a man and a woman, but also kind of disturbs and divides a very basic structure of a family itself. In this scene, you see a father and a daughter being separated because of something, and while I was watching it, I just felt that this whole binary conflict can create so many disturbances which we may not be able to think when we hear this idea. Structure wise, this episode's pretty good. The tension builds up very slowly and in very unexpected ways. There are two courtroom scenes. One is done, I think, very well. It really spikes your interest and it makes you wonder, okay, what's going to happen next? But the second scene is just something which didn't work for me. I'll talk about it in detail in a while. But it's the first time we see the courtroom and all the Aes Sedais and all the high authority and how the court is conducted and so on and so forth. And the courtroom is so very well detailed. It's not even funny. I watched the episode twice, and when I was watching it for the second time, I just kept looking at the set and I didn't even pay attention to any of the characters or their expressions because the set is so beautifully detailed that you can just keep looking at it. The tension keeps building throughout the episode up till the end, and then it falls flat. And it happens in very unexpected ways. So when you're watching the story, you do understand that, okay, this is going to happen next, and then that would happen, and that's where you think the tension points are gonna lie. But somehow, for me, it worked very nicely because they kind of displaced all those points, and it was a surprise to see, okay, I didn't expect that, and I didn't see that coming. So that was one thing. Also, I want to mention that while I was watching this episode, I wasn't directly straight away able to analyze all those things which I generally do, and I was just paying attention to the story as it was being told. It was only when I rewatched the episode I was able to get into the integrities of what's happening, what's being told, and what's the theme and all of that. So from that point of view, probably it's a very well made episode. Also, I read a post on Reddit where they were comparing the Aes Sedai from Wheel of Time with Bene Gesserit from Dune. Now that's a very interesting comparison, but I'm still to explore it properly to understand that whether it's fair to compare the two or not. There were a few high drama sequences when the characters were interacting and they were like kind of threatening each other and spilling secrets about each other. All of those bits I think are very well done. There were two sequences, to be precise, which I enjoyed watching, which had that kind of drama, and one of them had a very interesting line which was thrown, and I'll just share it with you. So something happens and Maureen tells Nynaeve that if wisdom is the title you claim, I suggest you start using some. That was like one burn, and I really enjoyed watching the tension and the way it was delivered. Also, there were so many wonderful performances which I noticed throughout the show. Maureen is being portrayed so well. All the nuances, all the emotions are delivered so well. And when I was watching the episode for the second time, I did understand the fake dragon. When he was speaking in the courtroom, his expressions made so much of sense for what he was saying and what he was feeling, because he did not really mean what he was saying, but he knew that he must convince them to kill him. So he was just spitting out venom as much as he possibly could, and that bit is delivered so well. And if you really watch his performance carefully, you can see so well what the character is going through. So I thought that was one wonderful performance there. The art direction, I love how they are playing with the patterns and everything. The courtroom, the flooring, it has a very interesting design which is color coded, representing the different factions of the Aes Sedai. I think that's very nicely done. They show it a few times using aerial shots, and that was one stunning bit. The painting in Moraine's room, it very strongly reminded me of Raja Ravi Verma's art, an Indian artist, very renowned, and he's created such iconic pieces of art. And there were some other elements also which kind of reminded me of some other motives that I've seen here and there, and the kind of detail that I saw in this show, it's really amazing. They've taken pains to even get the hinges and their points right from an architectural point of view, so that things actually start looking very realistic, and the architect in me was so thrilled to see that. So I think I'm going to finish this book pretty soon, and the character of Loial has made an appearance in the book, and I think so far that's my favorite character. So chapter number 36 is quite interesting to read. If you're looking at the book, I would suggest that when you read chapter number 36, just read it very carefully. I loved reading that chapter. Also, the opening titles of the show, which show all the weaving of certain patterns and then so on and so forth, all that bit is very nicely explained in this chapter number 36. So if you read that and then you watch those beginning titles, you would understand what they're trying to say and what the whole idea is all about, how different figures are coming together and so on and so forth. That's something which is very nicely explained in that particular chapter. Towards the end, there was this one bit which kind of reminded me of a Hindi novel, a high fantasy Hindi novel, which is called Chandrakanta, which was written way back in 1888. It talks about magical realms and talismans and all of that. And that book is quite heavily inspired from a lot of Persian fantasy like Arabian Nights and Talisme-Hoshirba. Now, I'm very interested to explore the connections and sources from these points as well, but I think that's too much for me right now. I would rather just stick to reading the books and analyzing the religious and philosophical contexts for now. Maybe later I'll try to explore those connections as well. Now, coming to the bit that did not work for me. And also, spoiler warning for the people who have not seen the show yet. So if you're still planning to watch the show, this is the point I would suggest not to watch, because it will kind of ruin a lot of stuff for you. The second court scene when Maureen is exiled and with the oath bar and everything, and how the sentence is passed and so everything, it was shown as something which was very emotional and which was more of a tragedy. But to me, it just seemed like a part of the plan they had been thinking and weaving for a very long time. So the kind of emotion they were trying to push just simply fell flat for me. It was almost awkward and embarrassing to watch that fake drama. It could have been narrated differently. It could have been structured in a way that it had that kind of an impact, or they might not have portrayed it as something which would have such an emotional impact to the viewer and to the character as well, because Maureen herself told that she wants herself to be exiled, and while passing the sentence, the authority also states that she cannot come back until she is asked to. So the doors are open, and so if it's a plan, by all means, we know that she will be called back. So it was very awkward. Alright guys, that's it for today. Episode number 6, The Flame of Tar Valon. How did you like it? I would love to hear. Also, I think this is probably the episode which is going to get a lot of heat because it kind of didn't work from certain point of views, and I'm already seeing some posts and some Reddit discussions which are a little unhappy. So what do you think? What are your views? And until next time, keep watching, keep reading, stay healthy, stay safe. Cheers.